Kezdjük a mai könyvbemutatónkat. A mai könyvbemutatónk angolul fog zajlani, de előtte egy pár szót fogok mondani magyarul. Florian Steger Etika az orvoslásban című nagyszerű könyvét mutatjuk be. Én Oriold Károly vagyok az Oriold és társai könyvkiadótól, és először is szeretném mindenkinek megköszönni a munkáját, és most áttérek angolra. So today we will introduce the book Florian Steger Ethics in Medicine. And first of all, I would like to say thank you for all the worker or the partners who has made a lot of work to be able to publish this book. And I would like to ask you, introduce yourself, please, in English.
In this order. Yeah. Okay. I do welcome also everyone here. I'm Gergely Tari from the Zeller Judit Medical School from Szeged. I'm working as a bioethicist. And I was the editor of this book.
Thank you. I'm Judit Zeller from the University of Pécs, Faculty of Law, and I am a lawyer and psychologist. And I actually teach constitutional law, but I deal with bioethical issues as well. So that was my PhD research, and that's my connection to this book, I think.
And she is the translator of
and
the
I'm
book.
the one of the translators of the book. And we have the other one over there.
And before that.
So, my name is Florian Steger, I'm the author.
Okay. And I have, just a second, I have forgotten to tell that we will introduce today two books. Both books are in Hungarian. The another books, Wo ist mein Kind auf Deutsch? Where is my child? Would you be so kind to... So this is the book. And I would like to introduce yourself, please, György.
Yeah, my name is György Németh. I'm professor at the ELTE University in Budapest, and I'm the translator of this book, and I'm the translator of the earlier books of the author.
I'm József Kovács. I'm a physician and a philosopher, and I am teaching bioethics at the Semmelweis University in the Institute of Behavioral Sciences.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Józska, that you have joined today. Thank you very much being here. I am very glad. And first, I would like to ask György to introduce in a few words the book, Wo ist my Kind?
Yeah, where is my child? It's a really very sad book about the DDR. There was a story about children who were clowned by the doctors after the childbirth, and some of the mothers talk in the first part of the book, and the reporter is Florian Steger and Maximilian Soho, and they have this story really detailed, how they lost the children, and the children were maybe sold by the doctors, or who knows. The second part of the book is really scientific work. Florian Steger and his partner looked after the papers conserved in Thuringia about these children, and in the reality all these children were birthed dead. And the dead children were in the Eastern Germany. There was paper about everything, so they found the papers, and now we can see that the story of the mothers is not right. The children, that the birth of the children was not good. They were dead by the birth, but the doctors never informed the mothers. That is the problem. Never informed the mothers, and so the mothers have no idea what happened with my child, and so they have made the conspiration theories. And if you read the first part, you say, "Oh God, that is oh, the DDR was so bad." It was bad enough, but not with this. Child robbery. So that is the. It's okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to ask Judit to speak a little bit more about ethics in medicine. What is this book about?
Well, I think we had the impression that it's, so these are, of course, scientific studies, but more essay-like. I think they raise very important questions like the situation of psychiatric patients and the ethics surrounding art therapy. I think one of the most interesting ones was the art therapy thing, and then actually this crime in connection with a certain type of medicine, so I think it raises very important questions and summarizes some of the most important issues that are still current or still actual in today's context.
So I would like to ask everyone who are here, how do you meet ethics in medicine? In the daily life.
Okay, in my professional life, it's easier because I teach bioethics also. However, as a future patient, as somebody who is self-reflective enough, maybe it's a prize of the profession. So dealing with bioethical questions, I am self-reflective enough to know that one day I will be sick. And if I will be ill, I have to figure out what to do. So I use my imagination how to rule in advance these unpredictable circumstances. So I am somebody who is willing to determine what will happen in like devastating circumstances. So in my personal life, I would like to be, I will be the ruler of my life. So in this regard, I do want to control these circumstances. So in this regard, not just at the end of life, but in every single doctor-patient interactions, I require information from the doctor, and that's the point. So feeling the sense of control, this is the way I connect to.
So it is a way of control.
Yes.
Well, I think I have lots of encounters with ethics. On the one hand, via teaching. I teach law students, bioethics to law students, and it's very interesting to see, on the one hand, the overlaps, and on the other hand, the differences between ethics and law, because they not necessarily not 100%, there's no 100% overlap, I think. I also teach future physicians, or actually physicians already, in connection with end-of-life issues, and I think it's a specifically or particularly hard topic for physicians as well, although they encounter the end of life quite often, or at least they have to count on that they are going to encounter that. And in my other identity as a practicing lawyer, sometimes I meet psychiatric patients and their issues. So how they are admitted into hospital, how they are, in closed wards, and what the ethical aspects of that medical care is.
And in this case, do you focus on ethical issues or legal issues?
Yeah, well, I would like to think that they are not so far apart. Okay, so I think both, or I would like to draw attention to the ethical issues, because I think in many cases we can fit ethics into the legal framework.
Yeah, what should I say? I teach, I write. Maybe some other point could be interesting to you, as I work also a little bit as a clinician, more from an ethical point of view. It could be interesting that I bring really ethics into our daily practiced medicine in our to our departments of children and adolescent healthcare, to our intensive care units. So I bring really the theory to our clinicians and discuss together with them what you raised and also you raised before: end of life decisions, late abortion practice, prenatal diagnostics, and also sometimes coercive measures, for example. Yeah, so it is not only a scientific issue itself, and it can really help also our colleagues who work in the departments or who work in private practice and who deal really with these practical issues, how they should decide in severe situations, yes, to bring to them some ideas how they can develop policies to treat these patients. And maybe that is something I can add to the other one. That is something I'm absolutely fascinated that it works, and I'm very happy that I can work at a place where it works together with the colleagues who work daily with patients.
I have a really deep relationship with bioethics because my wife is teaching bioethics in the Semmelweis University. But other side, I have nothing to do with bioethics.
You don't have nothing to do with ethics.
With bioethics.
That it is ethics in medicine.
Yeah, ethics in medicine. Yes, I'm not the doctor. So, yeah. No.
I think the Hungarian writer Frigyes Karinti says that people usually say that a writer should write about things which people are interested in. And he says that the thing is the other way around. A writer will show the readers that they are interested in things which they didn't think at the first place that they are interested in. And I experience it a lot when students, I teach medical students usually, they come in after pharmacology, pathology, and they think that they are not interested in ethics. And then we begin to show ethical dilemmas, and there is a tremendous debate, and they realize that they didn't think that this is ethics because they are very, very much interested. And I think this holds true for the general public as well. So many people think that ethics is a very lofty thing, and that's not the case. Ethics is everywhere, but we fail to see clearly. And I think a good ethical teacher and a good book has to show that ethics is there. You have to open your eyes and see ethical problems which are everywhere. And I think I saw the titles of these chapters in this book that this poses the questions and tries to answer these questions. So I think ethics is everywhere, and ethics is, everybody is interested in ethics. Nobody is left neutral in ethics, but people don't know that what they are interested in is ethics and morality.
So I agree very much with you, József, that the people don't know. That's why we have published this book, because beside the topics and themes what you have mentioned, in the book there are definitions and basic definitions in the book, and these definitions are important also for the medical professionals and also for the patient and also for the lawyer. Because I think, so I am also meet medical ethics and medical laws. I work as a group analyst, I work as a art therapist, and this chapter, for example, about art therapy was very important for me. But as a patient, I would like to say a very little story, which is point of ethic endpoint of law. So I have had an operation last year in Semmelweis University, and the anesthesiologist, together with other patient, asked which kind of medicine are you sensitive for? Very sensitive data at the corridor, together with other patient. I was shocked. I had a feeling, how can this was a lady, very friendly. She saw that she was very, very kind with me. And the other patients were not aware of this. Okay, I have answered this. This is an issue. After this, in a conference, I have met Merkeli Béla. This is a message for him from here. I was wanting to share my experience to improve the care. And he said, okay, give me, he said to me, you, tegeződve, ducen, and send me an email. This is more than 1 year ago and not answered. So no, because no. So ethical issue is the feelings, the feeling of the doctor, the connection between the patient and the doctor, the possibility of feedback, the willingness of learning, and the doctor's most important question, what is proper? What is the proper activity? And I think what is proper activity is important. So my question is does every country having own medical ethics, or is medical ethics something stable, something which is above the law? How is it? How it is? Maybe Florian.
Yeah, in my opinion, we have to talk about context sensitivity and also about context sensitive ethics if we deal with bioscience and also with medicine itself, also with psychotherapy. I have a broad understanding of medicine, so it is not only done by me or by József as MDs or by someone else who is an MD here. It is also has to do with psychotherapy. It has to do with nursing practice and so please use medicine in my books always, in my writings, as a very broad understanding of medicine. First point. Second point is really, if we are aware of this context sensitivity, really, then it has to be different. For sure, if we raise dignity, it could be a category. This is just above all. But if we go deeper into detail, it has to do a lot with history and society. Just have a look at this book here, Where is My Child? Wo ist mein Kind in German? This has a lot to do with the GDR society, with the political system, with dictatorship also, and it has a lot to do also with transparency and with also building up some sort of relationship. Yes, just to come back to your question, you raised to this very famous cardiologist. So I think, in my opinion, it's always very necessary to think about these issues like transparency, relationship, communication, and some other points. And then you can understand why this happened here. These children haven't been stolen. These children are dead. That's all. But these women did experience it in completely different way. And if they had the opportunity to say goodbye to their newborn, or to their unborn also, it could be also unborn, then this story hasn't happened in that way. And so I come back to your question. I think we have, if we do ethics, really to plea for building up a good relationship between patient and the healthcare professional. Yes, and it could be a nurse or a medical doctor or elsewhere. I think that's very important, and this is context sensitive, Karoly. maybe, yeah.
I think your example and the example of this book shows the importance of informed consent, which is a central tenet in bioethics. Because in paternalistic medicine, it was very often the case that patients were not informed about very important things. And we experienced in psychiatric wards that people who guessed that there is something which is hidden, but they didn't know the information, they began to become paranoid because, of course, people want to know the truth. And I think this is the case about paranoia because nothing happened which was terrible, but people were not informed. And if people are not informed, they can create stories which are quite terrible in a non-democratic society. But even in a democratic society, transparency is very important. So I think ethics is, in a sense, international because people have the same wish everywhere. If I want to know the truth in case if I'm very ill or not, if I have a very bad prognosis or not, according to international investigations, people usually want to know the truth. Mostly in different societies, there is a small percentage of people who don't want to know it, but it's 15% or 20%, not more. But mostly people want to know the truth. And the same holds true in medical research, where people want to be informed. And these norms are international because if they were not, then those countries which were less strict, they would experience research because, of course, research would be brought to them. So that's the reason that it has to be in the same way strict everywhere because then there will be a consensus upon morality. So I think it's more and more international, more and more similar in democratic countries, and that's a very important qualification because in an authoritarian country it can be quite different. But in a democracy, it's quite international today.
Can I join? I also would like to reflect on this cultural or context sensitivity and the nature of bioethics. So I think how the discipline evolved, there is a certain feature that should remain a must. That we have to realize that bioethics has to be a multidisciplinary subject or discipline in which these narratives that you highlighted with art therapy or these kind of interview-like books, which essentially gives an epistemic credibility of these voices, is somewhat that we have to appreciate. So the way medical ethics evolved to bioethics also means a paradigmatic shift, and we have to respect this kind of shift, and we have to frame medicine in this regard that you highlighted, that it's way more than just the discussion of medical doctors. It's a discussion which involves philosophers, even legal professionals, theologians, and many more, nurses, and even civilians from the civil rights aspect. So these narratives that appear in these books all together, I think it's very credible.
I would like to add just one more thought to this context sensitivity, and I fully agree with you that these ethical norms or principles should be universal, at least in the democratic countries. But coming back to your example and the everyday context in a certain country, I would say, the awareness of ethical issues and patients' rights, what you have mentioned, that's very different, and I think it's very context sensitive because I think that Hungarian patients are much less aware of their rights and probably much less aware of the ethical nature of the doctor-patient relationship as in other countries that didn't experience, for example, something similar like at the GDR and Hungary, so the Iron Curtain, or the countries behind the Iron Curtain. So I think, I like this book and practically all books that deal with medical ethics because they can probably reach out to people who are not so aware of these issues, and they just contribute to the socialization of our entire society.
How can we form the ethics? So Okay, because as I have heard you, that the Hungarian patient now are not much aware. So we have tried to with the publishing of this book. We are having I am having an imagination that in 20 years the situation will be better. It is depends on the patient. It depends on the government. It depends on the medical professionals. So this is one thing, and the another thing is the ethics is something very personal, because for example, you are mentioning that there are moral burden. This moral burden affects the individual persons, and this moral burden can have very bad consequences. So I think if there is this book, there is this moral burden, there is ethics. How can we help? How can help this book the daily work of the doctors and the professionals? How can we help them?
Well, I think this must be a very long journey, and we are on this track. I feel, but I do agree with what you said. But ethics, in my point of view, is way more interpersonal, and the cultural roots. If we connect back to the Hungarian reality, I feel that one of the major issues in the background is that we don't handle adult people as mature enough to be self-reflective, to be self-determinative. So we think that even if we turn the age of adulthood, there must be somebody who will be responsible for us. There must be somebody who will make the decisions instead of making decisions and I feel this moral majority is missing from our socialization. So we are not trained enough to be independent in moral decision making, and I do feel that it's also influencing the daily work of medical doctors, because even if they can feel the power, and I'm not a medical doctor, so I can just imagine how would it be, but making decisions instead of letting the patient decide is also a challenge. And I feel that answering your question, so we have to start not in the medical schools, not in the higher education, but from the beginning of life. I mean, from kindergarten and from this kind of socialization, that we have to teach children to be able to decide in not severe questions at the first, but then like making the sense of control, like helping them to feel the sense of control. And it will influence, might influence the upper generations or next generations.
I think one very important task of every medical ethics book, and this included, is to be an eye-opener, to make ethical dilemmas visible, because usually they are invisible for the general public, but even sometimes for doctors. If you go to a hospital and you ask people, do you have ethical problems? Usually the answer is that we have financial problems, we have lots of problems, but we don't have ethical problems. And then it turns out that they have a lot of ethical problems, but they don't formulate it as such. So this book helps it to, because people don't like to have ethical problems because they feel that perhaps they are morally deficient if they can't solve ethical problems by themselves. And it turns out, by the help of these books, that it's normal to have ethical problems, and it's a sign of a high level of conscience that you have ethical problems, because if you don't have, then it's a lower level of morality. And this makes people aware about these ethical problems and make it visible, and it can be argued about, it can be debated, and it's normal that there are different viewpoints. And when a book describes these different viewpoints, it makes it more visible and more transparent. So I think it has a very, very important role. And let me add something, because you seem to be a little pessimistic that there is no advance, no progress in this field. But I'm old enough to experience that there is progress. When I was a medical student, which was a long time ago, we got grades, for instance, in biochemistry, which is a very difficult subject, and it was put on the board of the institution. Everybody saw that somebody has failed, the other person got a 2 or a 3. Today, it would be unimaginable to put it on the board because everybody gets into the Neptune. And so there is an advance, there is a progress. But of course, it's very slow thing. The other thing is informed consent. When I first began to speak about informed consent, people didn't know what is it, what is in. Today, everybody speaks about informed consent, and I think there is a progress, but this progress is slow. We wish it should be quicker, but it's progress.
May I add something? Actually, what was very touching for me in this book, and it's probably not it's difficult to say that it's touching because it's an academic text, but I think it's full of emotions. So it brings the problem close to your soul, to your emotions. So actually these historical summaries and the just a couple of words from the people who had some experiences, mothers who lost their children or women in confined institutions. So I think it's, so you can somehow influence and socialize people via their emotions, because then they can feel compassion or empathy. They can probably experience something very similar to the people who experience that certain thing. And that is, I think, very important. And so probably that can also contribute to change.
Okay, as a publisher, I think I am having an imagination that we can influence the speed, the progress of the development with giving words for problems, giving words for people. For example, for the doctors who are suffering from moral burden, saying that this is a very this problem is coming from even from the ancient time, when there is a conflict, even in Hippocrates, defining that the medicine is art and science, and also art is important and science is important, and also the empathy is questionable. Should be lot of empathy that is ethical, or should be protect himself or herself from the very, very big problems of the patient? What is the proper? What should be done proper? And I think, so in my opinion, as a publisher, we are trying to disseminate the words and showing, even for the mothers in the voice mic, that they are not alone. And even with the moral burden, they are not alone. And I would like to say to you, Judit, and also to Joska, a very simple sample. When I get in touch with the Hungarian healthcare, no one asks me, how can you call you? What is proper for you? This is a very simple question. And we are not that level. To us, that should be the first question. How can I call you? And for example, there was a healthcare provider who said me, Brother Károly. I said, what? So I think in some cases this is very, very high, very, very far. But in some cases there are it's not so difficult.
Maybe I can say something. First of all, I think we need also prominent publishers, to bring our words to the public. So thank you very much, Károly, for this opportunity again. Yeah, it's not my first book, as we heard already, and I'm very glad that also a German can publish here in Hungary some new words. And I completely agree. What is necessary really, that we need words for our feelings, for our experiences. Also, this is why I always include narratives in my books. Yes, that we learn from the patients, from this one who experience us as healthcare professionals, us as society, how they experience us, and they give us words, and we have to discuss this word. We have to behave according these words or not. We can agree or not, we can disagree. And one of my very important points in all of my writings, but especially also in these books, is that I plead for diversity. And diversity also for diverse books. Take the book written by József, take mine, compare it, yeah, and try to use these books for your attitude. Develop an attitude, and that is my mission. We need to develop an attitude. We teach students since years, thousands of students in the meantime. You also started to teach them. We all teach students. And that is our duty, to bring awareness to the students, yeah, to empower them, that they can develop an attitude. It will take time, Karoly, but we are on a very good way in Europe. We all are Europeans, as we are sitting here together, and in Europe we are on a very good way. You see, in the US, we are not on a good way at the moment. Yeah, we decrease not only the speed, we decrease the cultural behavior in the US. And I'm absolutely convinced that we are all who are Democrats, we will win in the end here in Europe. And that is our mission, really, to do ethics. And that is my mission in this book.
And I think what you mentioned, that when you were in the healthcare system and you were not addressed properly, nobody asked you how to address you. I think it's a problem in Hungary in general, because, you know, the language is a very tricky thing, because language mirrors the society, and the society was very feudalistic for a long time, and the Hungarian language mirrors that. So there is the familiar form of view and the official form of view. It exists in German as well, du and sie. But in Hungary, there is a third layer, which cannot be translated into German, which is tetszik. And in Japanese language, because I spoke with a German scholar, there is a fourth layer, because Japanese society was a very, very feudalistic society, and the language mirrors that. And people are quite confused, to tell the truth. I'm a man, and I was for a very long time confused how to address a lady, whether I can say you, the familiar form of you, or the official form of you. Usually women begin that, and then they may allow it. But I see many people have this problem still, because there are not formal rules. And so I think it shows very well that ethical problems begin by addressing another person. And perhaps informed consent begins by asking you, how should I address you? What is your favorite form of addressing? And of course, this has to be taught in medical schools. And today, let me say that we teach communication skills as well. When I was a medical student, I learned ethics, but I didn't learn communication skills. Today, they learn communication skills, they learn psychology and various other things. So there is a progress as well. It's another thing how quickly it goes into the practice, but still it's going on. And I completely agree that it's a very, very slow process. It needs decades until some change is happening, and sometimes you don't notice it, but still it happens. If you went back 50 years from now, you would be surprised how different the healthcare system was at that time than now it is. And my favorite method is to see old Hungarian films from the 30s, which are quite interesting from the point of view, what is the relationship between a man and a woman? It's shocking how different the woman's position was in the 1930s in Hungary than it is now. People allow themselves things which nobody would allow today. So I think the other interesting things that people are very slim. Today, people are obese everywhere, and these films show how slim people are because we are living in a different society. So many interesting things can be seen, and my point is that there is progress, but it's very slow.
Just one brief comment in regard of the responsibility that you mentioned as publishers. So I do feel that we not just have as academicians or people who teach law or bioethics or medical students or legal students, we do have a responsibility as people who use this language, who can train civilians who are not experts in bioethics. So we have to step aside from the seminar rooms outside of the publicity in front of them and help them to be aware what is an ethical issue in medicine. And I think we here somehow gave a try to use the method named philosophical cafes or bioethics cafes or dead cafes. I don't know. In Pécs, it has its roots. In Budapest also, and in Szeged we gave a try this opportunity to speak about transplantation ethics or ethics of death and dying in front of everybody who is interested in and feels that it's relevant for them. So from high school students to people who are retired can appear in this safe environment and can just listen or be actively participate in the discussion. So I feel if language is the key in this transformation, we have an extra duty here to share the language we use.
So I think we also have to speak about. So I was thinking about why have I get here these personal experiences, because so I as a group analyst and I as a patient right activist, I meet in the daily life that there are the healthcare system and there are personal narratives. And somehow they do not meet. So the ethic is something very personal, very individual, and very very social. I think together, so there is so this is a conflict or somehow. The balance should be somehow found. And another example I would like to say that really is interesting. So I would like to go back to this to my question that the rector of the Semmelweis University felt responsibility for the ethical issues in his institute. Somehow he immediately said that I will do something. And it was for me also very interesting. And I would like to say another example, which is, I don't know whether ethical or not, a retired doctor over 75 years went back as a patient to the internal department. He was lead another department for 20 years in the same hospital. And in the morning, he went to a nurse, to the main nurse, and asked, "Tell me, please, nurse, what will happen? Which kind of care will I get today? Diagnosis, blood, and so on." "You know, I am also a doctor." And the nurse said, "You just have been a doctor." And this is an ethical, moral issue. And what shall we start with this kind of information? So I also would like to do this in this book, and also this personal and so I don't know whether it is question or not.
I think this is an interesting story because I have met many colleagues, many medical doctors who were not particularly interested in ethics until they were patients in the healthcare system, and then they realized things from a completely different point of view because their colleagues behaved a little bit better with them than usual, but still it's the healthcare system, and they felt that they are against the bureaucratic system. And they began to be very much interested in ethics. And I think that's what is important when we teach ethics, that we will be patient as well. And we have to teach students to accept, to make an ethical stance, that they would be a good doctor for us because we will be their patients. So when I teach a young student, he will be my doctor after two decades, but everybody will have the same. So we have to make it sure, and they will have the same, of course. So that's an important part, that when we teach students, we have to anticipate that they will be the future doctors, and whether we want to be their patients. If we want, then we did the work well.
Yeah, just one thing, we didn't mention it explicitly, but I think we talked about that a lot, is autonomy. And what this story tells me is a lot about autonomy. So whether the nurse can regard this patient, whether a doctor or a former doctor or not, or a current doctor, I don't know. Okay, so whether you accept and acknowledge the autonomy of the patient. And I think the book says a lot about autonomy and about the fact that, autonomy can be diverse, or actually diversity can be expressed in the patient's autonomy. So how he or she thinks about certain things, and this shall be taken into consideration. And I think probably a professional identity can be part of that pluralism, what the book talks about.
I was just wondering what can be the work climate in this department that you mentioned. So maybe the nurse is under this kind of suppression by a doctor. So I don't know what could be the the attitude of the boss of the nurse or the leading nurse in this department.
And let me add one thing, because many patients complain that when they are entering into the healthcare system as a patient, they are deprived of their identity in a certain sense, because they are not doctors anymore, they are not lawyers anymore, they are not teachers anymore, they are patients. And that's a very bad thing against one's dignity, because one is identified with his profession. For instance, somebody has been teacher for 40 years, and there is a young nurse who is the same age as his students were, and begins to speak with him in a completely different way, and he is deprived from his dignity. So that's very important.
Okay, so we are slowly at the end of our introduction, and I will open for the audience for the questions. But my last question to you, what is your message for the readers? Do you have any message? How to read this book? What to learn from this book? When to read this book?
I think you can read it at every time, because these are very small pieces, and this is also the structure of the book. So it is not Aristotelian style that you have read from the first line to the last line, and then you have to think about. You can just start and you can pick up a piece of it, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, yes. And then you are aware of more a definition or a very small piece of history or something similar. So I would say it's a book which is perfectly done for medical doctors, but because we cannot concentrate too long for something, we have to interrupt and to work again maybe. So it can be read at every time and everywhere. My mission to the leaders is take your time and read it. Yes, because it is really necessary that you are aware that our most important resource are human beings. We work together. So if we talk about allocation and priority, for me most important is that we are aware of the situation, that we are all human beings and we have to behave in a certain way, that we like to go to our work in the hospital or elsewhere, and then we should behave all the others as human beings, and as we, as József told you, also would like to be treated as patients, and that you can learn from different chapters of this book. So this is my mission really. Yeah, human resources have the first priority, and ethics is the way to behave as a human being in this system, really. And if you can learn that from reading some pieces of the book, I'm very happy about.
For the readers, do you have any message? Not necessarily.
That was such a nice message.
Okay.
Authentic.
I cannot.
Okay. György, what do you think about Voiced Mindkind? Who should read this book?
Yes, that is a good question. You see the cover page. We had a problem to choose a really good cover page, and because the book is written about mothers, there was a very nice picture about a crying mother, only a part of the face, and the author said that is too dramatic, not good, and so he chose this picture of the GDR, a street in Berlin in the, I don't know, in the 80s with Wartburgs and Trabants and so on. So that is a very good example about this book. I was, as a child, lot of time in Eastern Germany, so I know very well the system of this state. For all the people who knows, and there are people in Hungary, the GDR, that is a very important book. For the younger people, but after the fall of the Eastern Germany, it's a historical book, so they can learn what this system was, because about Hungary we don't have books like this. We have. No, we don't have books. Yes, not yet. So that is really important. And the third, the techniques the author used in this book. So the first part, you have these reports, and you said, "Oh God, what happened?" And in the second part, point by point, step by step, you see that was not right. What the lady said. So. It's a really very sad book, but if yes, but very interesting, especially for women.
Thank you very much. Köszönöm. Danke. I would like to open the questions for the audience. If anybody is having any comment, information, question, welcome. Come forward, please.
A question for the future, if it is not a secret. What will be your work, or in academic, maybe you know when you're working in the future?
So I would like to repeat the question for the video watcher. What is your next? What is your future? What is your work in the future? What are your plans?
So if this question is for me, then I would like to answer, maybe also to the others, because there are many scientists here at the table. Yeah, it is not a secret. It is not a secret, yes. So I work on different fields in history and also in ethics at the moment. And I'm very interested in the relationship between politics and medicine. and what is the influence of political systems into medical system. And that is what I'm still working on at the moment, to compare different influences in our medical marketplace, and what does it change our attitude, our roles as healthcare professionals? What does it mean really to the patients? And do we need any policy maybe to be prepared what can be happen if the influence is too big? So that not really patient beneficence is our most prominent priority. Maybe other perspectives could be more prioritized. Yes, this is, I know, very general answer. Yes, but that's the truth I'm working on, and all of my historical examples that are examples, that are examples for my argumentation, that we should be prepared, that there should be not such a much influence on our work in the healthcare system. We need them. We need also the lawyers and the legal system for sure to be safe, but we should not be too much influenced, from political system, from politicians, what we are doing there, especially in these times, especially in Germany. We have a very bad, awful development in our political system, and so we have really to fight against that. That are my plans.
Maybe basically or together with psychology on manipulation and together. Thank you.
Let me add something, because it's very good that you will deal with the relationship between ethics and politics, because there was an American philosopher and bioethicist, Levy, who had a saying, and he said that ethics without politics is weak, politics without ethics is dangerous. So the two together has to be examined, and so I anticipate for this work.
About your plans? Just a second. Okay, Dieter. Please come forward.
Thank you. So I would like to contribute, not as a healthcare professional. I'm a stranger who came to Hungary and to stay here. So I will be confronted when I'm getting older and older with the system of healthcare here. And I would like to communicate my very bad experience, my personal very bad experience with the handling of the pandemic, COVID pandemic in Hungary. I took my responsibility not to give further my information. If I had so, I didn't know, and I wanted to get an how is it called? Vaccination. And I asked for that. Where can I get it? But I had no TAISAM. I wasn't registered for the system here, the healthcare system. But I said, but I'm living here, and I would like to take care for all your regulations and so on. And I went personally to the places where my wife, she's Hungarian, got her shot, and then I asked, may I ask you to get something? And the doctor, it was a female doctor, said, no, that's only for Hungarians. And I think so. Then the other day I came to the Város Majori heart sanatorium, and I saw long lines of people who hadn't registered for a shot, and I thought, okay, I'm going there, but it was too late in the evening, and I thought there is a way to get something if you have the connections, if you have your ears wide open. So it's about regulation, it's about information, it's about communication, and I can with my personal story, I can give you only this example for that. Yeah, thank you.
So I think a very important point of the ethics is the similar access, right to access to healthcare.
Yeah, in the Hungarian healthcare law, it's written specifically in the right to have healthcare, that healthcare should be given according to the medical need. It has to be continuously accessible and non-discriminative. On an equal basis, yeah. So the ethical aspect is granted on paper, but there is a phrase that how jogszabály in English. So the law is influencing the way you can get the continuous accessibility and also for. So yeah, when ethics and law are not in accordance, this is a typical example.
So I would like to go back to the plans. So Jóska and Gergő doesn't know our plan, that today we have discussed with my very excellent editor that we will launch a new journal, Ethics in Medicine on Hungarian.
Sounds great.
And I think we will cooperate in this way. So maybe so I can how to say. So we are having financial possibility to launch this kind of this kind of journal, and I think it is very important issue to find the best format, the best language to discuss about, because it is a challenge. So I think it is a challenge, and I not have spoken about the style of the books, because both books are very, very calm, very clear, step by step tells us very important messages. Any other question? László?
I was very happy to see the book in Hungarian and the other one too, for sure. Bioethics and medical ethics are often mentioned as the prime examples of practical ethics and applied ethics. So philosophical ethics anyway is quite different today than it was in the 1980s or the 1960s, 70s at the birth of international bioethics. My question would be that how can we keep steps with the development of philosophical ethics? For example, you mentioned, and actually there is a chapter on narrative ethics in medicine or narrative medicine as such. This can be a very good example for that. Maybe this is my feeling that we usually still use the principles, the terms, concepts of the 1970s in bioethics. We apply the analytic philosophy and something like that, but maybe the future will be different, and this is a very progressive field.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think it's really worth thinking about how can we develop our theories also, our to apply tools really. Yeah, I always say we have a empirical based medicine, we need a value based medicine. Yeah, so for this value based medicine we need normative approaches. This would be one of that, and we can develop that, and maybe we could also use these narrative approaches to add this to the normative approaches, yeah, and maybe we can combine it a little bit. We can learn from inner perspectives of patients, from relatives, and so on, to have this inner perspectives a little bit more included, and this could be done in addition to normative approaches. I'm absolutely a fan of Beecham and Childress because it's very simple to teach. I can teach it to my medical colleagues in some minutes, and I can try to apply it. And they know it is very helpful as an analytical structure, really, to go through cases if we are at intensive care unit, for example, and we have only 20 minutes time to do that. That's very helpful, in fact. But we as we are all working at the university here, we should develop it a little bit more. There could be contributions from philosophy. I'm very happy if there comes something, and then we can discuss it. It should be helpful for the daily work. That would be, for me, the most important point. Yeah, if we only discuss it in thick books, if we only discuss it in very helpful, for example, scientific contribution, I don't think this is what is needed in the daily medical practice. We need something very simple to apply. And narratives could be very helpful to have this inner perspective, and Beecham and Childress is so helpful. But you are absolutely right. It should be developed in a certain way, and I think we are all very open to do that if there comes something up. Yeah, and narratives could be some of that.
Any other question? Something to say?
Yes, about my future work. I will translate the next book of Professor Steger, Prägende Persönlichkeiten in Psychiatrie und Psychotherapie, Pszichiátria és pszichoterápia meghatározó személyiségei. That is the title of the book. That is a pretty long book, big job, but very interesting, with small biographies of the psychologists or psychiatrists. So it will be also a big job, but very interesting.
Okay. So I also would like to, but I will speak Hungarian now. Szóval a kiadó az amellett, hogy orvosi kiadó vagyunk, és az új kutatási eredményeket folyamatosan ismertetjük, többek között az onkológia, reumatológia, nőgyógyászat területén is, tehát hogy mi ezen a területen is nagyon aktívak vagyunk. Most december 5-én lesz egy könyvbemutatónk itt, ez lesz az utolsó idén, a méltóság a gyógyításban Csocsinov könyve, amit ugyancsak Kelenhegyi Péter szerkesztett, és hogy a kiadó aznak nagyon-nagyon fontos az, hogy amellett, hogy a fontos tudományos eredményeket ismertesse, mi nagyon ott állunk azoknak az embereknek az oldalán, akik kiszolgáltatottak és sebezhetők. És hát szeretném mondani, hogy megjelent az első fóliás könyvünk, Hogyan legyünk leszbikusok 10 lépésben, ennek is lesz egy könyvbemutatója januárban. Amellett, hogy megjelentettünk egy ugyancsak nagyon fontos pszichofarmakológia címmel, és hát tervezzük a jövő évünket, úgyhogy van dolgunk bőven, de etika újság reméljük, hogy lesz. Köszönjük szépen a részvételt. Thank you very much being here. Thank you very much the work of every people who have been working on this field. Thank you.